We're live, guys. Wow. See? Yeah. It was coming from the YouTube, guys. Can someone check LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm checking LinkedIn.
There's a one minute delay, so don't worry too much.
Mhm. LinkedIn started.
At least YouTube is working.
Mhm. Yeah, LinkedIn is working now. Try to refresh. So do I need to access as a LinkedIn is working as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
7 people have joined.
All good. Share this for now, and we'll share. We'll give everyone 1 minute, and then we'll start. Should we start? Huh?
Yeah, I think we can start. 16 people have joined so far.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Amazing. Thank you so much. Yep. So let me share my screen, and then we'll kick start. Is the screen shared?
Yep.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this webinar, and thanks a lot for your time out of your busy schedule. So in this webinar, we are going to demo how to model a complex QE operation of an enterprise using our AI augmented platform, Intelqe. So in this, and thank you so much for DevOps One for who are our delivery partner. I'm sure some of my colleagues and friends are here in this webinar as well. What we want to showcase is actually a new paradigm of quality engineering using the computational intelligence and generative AI capabilities. It's this slide is just I've just prepared this couple of slides, like 7, 8 slides total. Whole idea is to see this in action, but this is just to navigate. So we'll keep it very focused. So agenda for today's webinar is just a high-level introductions. Myself, Ghulam Hussain. I am product owner and sponsor and manager of this AI augmented platform, Intelqe. With me, I have got my core engineering team, Oyon, Wali, Roshan, and Aman. So they have been sort of part of engineering this solution, which we are going to showcase to you shortly. I'll be providing a platform overview and why this is different and what exactly the kind of benefits we can expect from this platform. And also, I would like to talk about briefly about the demo scope, which we have very carefully carved out. Is just like, given we have limited time, we just wanted to make sure that we are able to showcase the power, real power of this new approach of quality engineering, and when it is used at scale, how efficient and autonomous it can be. So after that, I will pass it on to one of my colleagues, Roshan, probably to actually showcase the demo. He will take us all through the step-by-step process, and then if time permits, we can do a bit of a Q&A. So please keep posting your questions, and even during the demo and discussion process, we would like to sort of, Ayan or Wali, I would request you guys to keep addressing those questions as we go along. Yeah. We will aim to wrap everything up within, let's say, 40 minutes, right? Yeah, within the time. So Intelqe, what exactly this platform is. So basically, with this platform, we are in the business of modeling a quality engineering operation. It's very different from just being a better automation tool. What that means, but what I mean by modeling a quality engineering operation is that we model the entire the tool sets, the processes, the information. We curate a knowledge artifacts, knowledge engineering. We build that QE process on the platform, and then we define the requirements, and then let the platform do the testing for us. Of course, there is a human in the loop, and we can't be too careful with the output that AI engine is giving, but we are more in the assistant role, and let platform manage the end-to-end QE pipeline, which is a paradigm shift from how quality engineering is done currently. So the platform actually is not a SaaS platform. That's a very important thing to understand. It's a organization specific platform. Piece by piece, brick by brick, it builds the capabilities, quality engineering capabilities of an organization. So it learns from your organization's processes, build the organization's knowledge artifact, and then you can leverage it at scale, just like an intelligent platform. So as much it learns from your processes, it keeps getting better. So on this diagram, what I have tried to show here is that you define a QE goal in the beginning. You define the requirements, test processes, environment metrics, all the historical information, defect data. We have the AI engine and the parser within the Intelqe, which understands all this information, converts it into our own format, Intelqe format. It develops its own understanding model of the quality engineering, and then it starts giving you. So it creates all these test runnables, which you are seeing here as a unit testing, API testing, depending on the input that you have given, right? Security testing. So if you say that this is the platform which is to be used by as a mobile app users, then it will generate probably a device form and then do the mobile test APM for you, right? Things like that. Depending on the input you have given, it will generate the test runnables. And then as a Intel QE engineers and QE engineers, we will review the output. So there is a bit of a feedback is required until you are happy with the results, right? And then it can autonomously run the run the quality engineering on its own. So as I said, like it's a paradigm shift in how quality engineering is done, and using the latest generative AI and computational intelligent capabilities. Right. So this is not another test automation tool. It's not like better Selenium or better any other tool. So it's an entirely different approach to the quality engineering, which we believe with a clever orchestration and multi-agentic capabilities, we can actually introduce significant efficiencies in our QE processes. Yeah. So again, this is just a view of like a pipeline, how it will look like. Again, it can be a lot more complex than what you are seeing here, or a lot more simpler as well. For example, if this is the output of that curation that you would have done. For example, you have defined a web app testing, then it provisions its tool sets like Selenium and Appium, and then API testing tool, and then you connect this entire platform to Jira. You ingest the requirements from Jira, then you define your test requirements, like at every release, every week, what is regression, what is progression, everything. You ingest the DOM structure. So one very significant IP that our engineering team has created is that it looks at the DOM structure, it converts that into a knowledge graph. It also develops a synthetic data generator on top of that, which takes care of the test data requirements, and it develops a complete understanding of that application, and it keeps scanning that and updating that. So this is a very significant sort of a IP that we have created, and we have written, my engineering team has written a paper on that as well. So with all this input, then it will generate the test suite, plan entire testing, does the execution, provide you test report, test summary report. And the report and summary that Intelqe provides is very qualitative as well as quantitative. It will provide you a summary of the like qualitative aspects of the quality of the build, which is very helpful in some view, right? And it helps the test managers. So that's a view of that pipeline that it will be generating. Now, what is the demo that we are going to show you all today is, for example, how can we model an entire QE operation by taking an example. So we have a test environment we've created with slight backend and front end, because we wanted to show that inbuilt intelligence of Intel QE here, which is the most impressive thing in my view. So basically, we will curate that. We will ingest, we'll define a QE goal. We will ingest bit of a requirement in such a way that it creates at API test runnables as well as functional test runnables. Now, it's just a demo. If you could have given a very different requirements, it probably would have created other runnables as well. That is the crux of the matter here. That there is an intelligence, computational intelligence going on here, where depending on what exactly you have ingested, it will create those runnables on its own. Okay. And then depending on what you have defined as your test process, it will start managing those runnables. And at every stage, you sort of human in the loop concept, that you review that, right? We can't trust this AI on its own. So at least initial phases, we have to be on the lookout. It may not get everything 100% right, and we curate it. That is where the role of an Intel QE engineer come into play. But what we will get to see today here, that we will ingest some requirements. We will let Intel QE process that requirement, right? We will engineer the knowledge artifacts, and we will see it in action, as in it generates its own prompts, and it's depending on the instruction we would have given. So it will then execute those prompts. What the tricky part here is, the way we have designed this demo is that, for example, if API tests fail, it will understand there is no point in running the functional test, right? So in first phase of the demo, if so we have made it fail, I guess, so that then it will stop and not execute the functional test to that effect, because this is the crux of this is the computational intelligence at play here. It understands what exactly is being done here and what is the value of these actions. Okay. And in second instance, when we will make it work, hopefully, then we'll see that it will actually complete the whole loop, right? It will run the API test, and then it will run the functional test, and then it will sort of complement those those runnables will complement each other, and then you will be able to see the result. So hopefully what you will be able to appreciate from this demo, today's demo, is that if this concept is applied at scale in the organizations and enterprises, how powerful this can be, right? So that is the idea behind this demo. And with that, I will pass this on to Roshan? Yeah.
Roshan, you are on
Can
mute.
you please unmute?
So is the screen visible?
No, I can't see. Are you sharing? Okay, so I
Yeah.
have to add that to the stage. Yeah, one second. Sorry, guys, my mistake. Yeah, cool. It's visible now, at least to me.
Okay. Is it visible? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start. So this is our Atalgo AI platform that Gulam has been explaining you for a while. Uh, So here we will, since the most important thing that we already talked about is QE goal. So everything goes around this QE goal thing. So whatever your quality engineering goal will be performed over here, and then we have other sort of components. I will explain it little by little, further in the meeting as we are going through the process. So we have Intelqe, knowledge base, components, data, scheduler, and all sort of things. Okay. So before going further, so let me create a QE goal. So what is a QE goal that has been explained by Glam? And a QE goal is obviously your goal to achieve a quality engineering uh, purpose. And so here, what we are going to do, let me first explain that. So we have these two applications. This is a working application. It's a working demo. This application is totally fine. It's working fine. And what this application is basically a car loan application. It's a car loan admin application where you have to fill up the form, date of birth, driving license, and all sort of details you have to fill up, and then you just submit the form. And based on your submission, what it will do, it will and the details you have submit is for the applicant for whom you are applying the loan for, and based on the details you have filled up, it will suggest you that whether the application has been rejected or it's been passed, or there is some decision code along with it. And then you can get all sort of details about what is the LVR value. If the applicant is unemployed, then obviously it is going to get rejected. So those sort of things are there in this particular application, and this is a working application. And then we have an application full of bugs. Like it has a bugs in API, it has bugs in the front end, and we have purposely added bugs in this front end as well. So our motto is to show you how our Intel QE basically detect those bugs and explain it to you how those bugs are getting raised, and what could be the further evaluation and further suggestion to resolve it. So all sort of things will be see how our Intel Q perform and how what is the capability of those things. Okay, so before that, let me just create. So we have this URL. We'll have to give all those the URL. So I have all sort of data arranged with me for you guys, and let me start with the QE goal. And what will be our QE goal? As I have explained you with this demo applications that will be testing this loan application. So let us name as a loan testing QE goal one. Okay, and let me add the base URL. So I have already have data, a lot of data to put on. So here is the base URL. So the API we are going to test, and we can add some description as well. Okay, we can add some description as well. Then after adding those description, let's move to the next step. And here, so let's say for this particular queue goal, you have arranged some sort of document as a requirements, and you can obviously upload all sort of documents. So we have already arranged a document called as loan application API requirement. So this is the requirement. We already have this requirement. I'll go through this particular requirement as well, and you can ingest Jira links as well if you have requirements in your Jira or conference. So you can add those links so that it will fetch all those details. And right now we have enough data in our documents for this application we are testing. So we don't need Jira links over here, but you can obviously add, and all those data will be ingested. And based on that, you can provide your environment detail as well. So whatever environment URL you have, environment let's say test environment, and you have some sort of URL. So you can add all those things. So right now we don't need all sort of things. But obviously you can add those things, and then you have defect data. So you might have previously done something with your whole applications, and you might have got any kind of defect. So let's say you got some Jira tickets for your defect data or some documents. You can upload all sort of defect data and documents over here. And based on all these details, what it will do further, it will evaluate your document. It will go through your requirements, and based on that, it will start creating a model for the QA code. Okay, so right now we have mentioned all the details, whatever required. Okay. And if you look at it carefully, then I've not mentioned a lot of detail, but you can always mention, and all those will be considered and ingested, analyzed, and then it will perform all sort of things. So it's a very
I
basic
think it's
application.
worth, sorry, Roshan, I think it's worth noting is that we are just showing the demo here, but
Exactly.
we can ingest your requirement from your Jira features or any other large files, right? So
Yeah.
you just providing the link that Roshan showed, and it will do the magic in the background, which it is doing currently. So that is the crux of the sort of matter, where it builds its own model of how this should be tested, right? And depending on all the things that we have provided and power of the algorithm, hopefully it will get it right. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the idea.
Yeah. Until this whole thing model analysis comes up ready, we will talk about. So this is ready, but till then, let me just explain you quickly this document. So if you look at this document carefully, then we have mentioned about the APIs and the business rules. So we have mentioned some business rules in this document for testing those APIs, and some we have mentioned what are the API endpoints, what type of API it is, what are the request body, and what are the response body, what are the validation fields, and other business logics, all sort of things we have mentioned in this document. And it is not just about it's not just a API documentation, simple API documentation. We have mentioned about details, requirements about API, as well as the for the front end side as well. So it's a whole and soul documentation for that particular application. But you can ingest multiple documentation. You might have separate documentation for API, separate documentation for other sort of things. So you can upload all sort of documents, and based on that, it has created this Intelqe. And what might surprise you, it has not just created this Intelqe goal. What it has created, it has also created this two projects in. So what these two project inside this Intelqe means. So as you have seen through the document that we have mentioned a lot of API details in it, and then front end details in it. So back end and front end and all sort of details we have mentioned. So based on your document, it has analyzed and it has understood that to achieve that QE goal, to achieve those QE goal, whatever you have mentioned in description and document, you have to have two projects, which is one of its is API testing project. So obviously you have to go through the API testing. Then it has created a functional testing project, and it has based on your document, it has created these two projects. And if I go into the detail of this project, you will see that there is a thing called as knowledge base over here. And in this knowledge base, you can see there are already available some knowledge bases. Okay, so if I go into the detail, let's go into this test requirements. You will see these test requirements are already filled out. And if you remember that we don't have any, we haven't created any kind of knowledge, we haven't linked or ingested any kind of knowledge. But based on the requirement that we have uploaded, it has understood a lot of things. It has understood the purpose of your goal, and based on that purpose, it has structured the knowledge. It has differentiated the knowledge, and it knows in which format you require the knowledge, in which format it will understood it further to evaluate and test it further. So all sort of things base, it has created the base for you. So it has it has decorated the playground for you. Now you are ready to move further. And one more thing, let me show you is the Intel QE suggestion. So this particular window you're seeing is an action window, what we call, and here we have a instruction window. So in this action and instruction window, you will see this. These are the different tabs to create more instruction, and this instruction is basically the multiple tabs in this instruction. The purpose of it is basically doing a lot of prompt engineering. Obviously, to go ahead and to test multiple scenarios, you'll have to side by you'll have to do a lot of prompt engineering as well. And based on that, obviously, it knows that you will create a lot of prompts, and it has suggested some prompts by itself. If you see that it has suggested some prompts, and so you can run this prompt as well. So let me show you. Let me just run test this particular API, and if I go through the API as well, let me just go through that. So if you see, then based on your document, it has created the list of APIs. So we in the document we have just mentioned two APIs. If you see, we have this application list API and this another API called as create application, and it has created those objects in the in the database about those APIs. And if you go through, if I go through this detail of this API endpoints, and it has mentioned like what type of method it is, and what is the config type, the description of the endpoint, and query param. Since we haven't mentioned any kind of query param, then it has request data, response data, so all sort of things. It has captured from the unstructured data or the requirement, any sort of document you have filled up. So it has captured all sort of things, and it has created a structured format. It has created the all those things that it is required to go further with the testing, and we can see all those details are already filled up. So let us start with the testing of a single. If we go inside this API testing, let's select the single the endpoint. Okay, we can you can select the multiple. You can see there are modules has been created, and in this module, if I just go through the module once again, this in this application we have this module, and if I view this module, then this module is connected to this particular two APIs. And so you can obviously go select if you want to test multiple API, you create a module, ingest or link multiple APIs to a module, and just select that particular module, and it will start testing those things. But if you don't require right now, we don't need those modules. We'll start with the single API testing. So we are testing that create a loan application, and we will move further with this prompt. And if you see the prompt, test the post create. This is the endpoint by sending the various payloads to verify business rules and errors. So we have also mentioned business rules in our document, and ensure that get application leads endpoint correctly. So we
Yeah.
don't need this one.
So
So
I think key point here is that Intelqe from its representation is generating the prompts as well for you, right? You
yeah,
know, and then you can in fact make it autonomous depending on like what kind of checks you want. It can generate the entire pipeline for you, like and it can keep
yeah,
managing that as
yeah,
depending on
yeah,
the
yeah,
instruction that you provide. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So let us go through this one. Okay. So, so it has initiated the API testing. And if you see further, then it has started fetching create application API that I have mentioned earlier, and it has generating test cases and all sort of things. So you can run it in background as well. You can see whatever things are running in background. So this particular test is running in background, and till then you can see that it has created the test plan, whatever the structure and whatever the path it is going to follow. It will create a test plan, and then it has created a test suite for it. And if you look inside the test suite, then what it says that valid application approval application, whether the applicant is underage or not, if the LVR value is high or low, and all sort of these are the business rules whatever we have mentioned in the document. And based on that business rule, it is planning the test, and it has created some test suite and test cases along with it, and it has it has tested all those it has tested all those test cases based on your business requirement. And then let's see the test suite as well for this. So here is the test case it has created, and if you see, there are the different test case we have. Valid application approval, and in this test case you'll see whatever the test request it has, the request data it has sent, and what are the assertions you have found will be this. These are basically the steps it is following to to um, to verify that this particular test case is passed or failed. Okay, so based on this you can see that um, different test cases it has created. And if you go into the detail of the test cases, whatever the steps it has been following to check whether these test cases are executed properly and it is passed or failed. And these are the test steps, and you can see the test log as well. And in this test log you can see it has failed 5 tests and it has passed one. So if we see, then it has failed this particular this all these test cases. It means that the API that we have configured have a lot of errors, and we have purposefully added those errors so that it could find that what it has passed, what it has failed, and why it has failed. So if you see this insight that it has given, the test result indicates consistent failure in handling edge cases such as underage applicant, high loan value ratio, unemployed applicant. So all those errors that we have purposefully added into the application, it has detected all those errors, and it has given some performance analysis as well, that the average response time is this much, and it can be further improved and all sort of things, and critical issues and recommendation. And this is also an interesting part: to improve the test reliability, refine the API validation logic to handle edge cases more accurately, ensure consistent and appropriate use of HTTP status codes. Okay, so it knows that whatever mistakes we have done in our backend application, it has detected all those mistakes. It has given some recommendation, insights, and all sort of details. This is the whole and soul the report of your testing, API testing, small report. And then you can so we have been through this particular API testing. So let's go through the functional testing. Okay, so if you go through the functional testing, you will see that in this functional testing, what we have done, we have this is the URL we are using to test this particular application. Okay, so we have tested the API side of it, and we have found that there are some errors in the APIs, and those APIs not successfully passed. The test are not successfully passed. So we'll see how it performs with the front end testing of that particular API. Okay, so let's start. And if you go through this instruction, generate, what it says is generate test cases and execute to verify the accuracy of all application status by evaluating the requirement. And the application base URL is this is what we have provided. Okay, and the application submission, the applicant's submission, fill all the required form field, submit the form. After submission, verify the application status. So this is what it means, that we have given a proper instruction about filling up the form, whatever required, and all sort of data, whatever you have to find, insert it. So just insert it and start the testing. But before this, let me just go through this knowledge base. So if you go through this knowledge base, we have added this requirement. It has ingested this requirement, and in this requirement, if you see, we have added all sort of what are the different scenarios you have to test. So we have added all those scenarios in the requirement. It has automatically created all those requirements. So we based on your requirement file. So it has created this test requirement knowledge, and it will ingest that particular knowledge to further testing and further evaluate all sort of things. Okay, so let me just start with this one. Let's see what it says. So it is setting up the process. now it is saying checking the previous result. What does it mean? Checking the previous result. Checking the previous result means it is checking. So if what it boils down to, so you have created a demo application. In demo application, you have mentioned your requirements, you have mentioned your goals, and in that goal, it knows that you have to first test your API. Then it will go further with your front end application. So if your front end, if your back end and API is not working properly, then it simply means that your front end will not work properly. So what it is doing, it is checking your back end, your previous test. So what is the previous test we have run? We have run our API project, which is our previous test we have run, and we know that we have failed in that API application. The application, the API that we were testing in that, have got 5 errors, and 5 test scenarios has not been passed. And what it says in the outcome generated, you can see it seems that the previous API test failed, which have prevented the execution of functional testing. Okay, so obviously it knows that your APIs is not working, your front end will not work. So we'll have to fix those things. So it says to proceed, we need to address the issue identified in the API test. Could you please provide more details about the API failure and specific errors? So all sort of things we'll see. Okay, so it is ready to help you with your API as well. So here we know that it is smart enough to recognize whether your APIs are working or not. Whatever test you have run in your previous project regarding this application is working fine, and whether
Yeah.
it is required for this functional test or not. So it will identify those things and it will move further. Okay.
Yeah. So
Now,
this is the deep computational intelligence at play, which I was referring to. Like, it's not a dumb tool. So
exactly.
it understands the complementarity of various test types execution, right? So there's no point in running manual test if some other tests are failing, right? If unit tests are failing.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
is the kind of inbuilt computation intelligence that we are kind of quite impressed about. And this is the bottom line, like how this tool is significantly different from others in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have seen our API testing capability, how it is testing your API and how it is reporting your bugs and finding out all sort of things, creating test cases and all sort of smartness with this Intelqe get. So we have seen that, and in the functional test, we have also seen that it is not proceeding further with the functional test because there are a lot of errors in the API testing. So we have created another project where we have just mentioned in the way we have created our QE code for this project is we have just mentioned we need to test our front end itself, no back end testing. And here it is everything is working fine. So here this is the different application we are using. Here everything is working fine. We have created another applications. You can see that URL is different for this application, URL is different for this application. So now we'll see our functional testing capability with our working application. Okay, so and here also in front end to show you all guys that whether it is testing the front end properly or not, we have added some bugs in the front end as well. So let's see how it is testing our front end application as well. Okay, so we have mentioned this particular URL. This particular URL we have mentioned the new application, working application URL, and we have ingested. We have provided all sort of data with it, the requirements and all sort of things that it required to move further. And based on this, let's start with the testing. Okay, so here if you see, just started the testing, just started going through the steps and process. Okay, so let me just show you guys. So it has, for initializing functional test, it will have to go all through your website and DOM and all sort of things. So it does a lot of backend computing based on the requirement you have given, the URL it has given. And if you you know if you analyze it properly, then you'll get to know that your requirement is sort of data, big data you're giving up for testing. So let's say you are giving 2-3 documents, you're uploading 2-3 documents, and then you are giving your URL. But your URL itself is a big document, itself is a big knowledge base because you are ingesting your application. And based on just your URL, it is it is analyzing, it is going through your website, learning your website and all sort of things it is doing. So right now you see it has completed analyzing the website. It has completed different URLs we have provided in the website. Now it is generating the test case. And based on the test case, you'll see that what test cases it has generated and what it is testing. Okay. So till then, till this test is running in the background, let me go through the other capabilities quickly, very quickly. Okay. So we have been through this knowledge base. Okay. Now we have tools capability also. So let's say after in this instruction, you can also mention like all these test cases, all those bugs you are getting in the applications, all those test cases it has been failing. Whatever there is a problem in your application, it can find out those application. It can show it in Intelqe application itself, Intelqe dashboard itself. But you want those things to be noted down in your Jira. You want to create those Jira tickets. You can connect your Jira. You want to get your emails about all those defects and all sort of things, whatever the test result are. Or if you have scheduled a test, you can obviously with this instruction, if you like, whatever the prompt engineering you have done, whatever the test it has been passed, if you want to do regression testing on it, you can obviously just schedule this particular instruction. Select the instruction, whatever instruction you have, enter the name of the schedule. You want it to be repeated task, then you just select what's the start time, end time, frequency, every day in the morning. So all sort of things you can do. Just start your scheduled task, and it will, and at that same time or a single time, it will repeat that particular instruction. It will run those tests, and that's how you can achieve your regression testing as well. So that is one of the part. And then the most important part, and one more thing I have to also show you guys is, so let's see, in this part it has completed the test generation. It has created the test suite for it, and now this test suite is getting executed. What it means by executed, that if you see there is a selenium link over here. So once your test suite starts getting executed, it you can see that execution live in your Selenium test environment. Okay, so this particular sign pops up, and you can obviously see all those test requirements. And here, the important thing is, you see this data, this James Smith and all sort of data. We have not mentioned any kind of data. We have not mentioned any kind of data. We have not ingested any kind of data. And if you look at this carefully, we have not. Since we are trying to test the overall applications, we have not mentioned the module, which particular module you want to test, and we have not also mentioned any kind of test data. So what does that mean? That we haven't provided any kind of test data. Obviously, we all know that to test any kind of application, we need a lot of test data. And the data, so if we have not provided any kind of test data, then what sort of data it is using? It is using the synthetic data. It has generated the synthetic data intelligently, and it is using those synthetic data to test your application. You can obviously provide all sort of data. You can obviously provide an Excel sheet or a lot of data. You can ingest all data. You can connect your SQL application as well to fetch all those data from your SQL application and test your uh, test your application based on the test data you have ingested. So that is another thing. That is the one more intelligent part, very crucial part as well. And it's basically a synthetic data generation tool that we have also modeled. So based on your application, based on your field, it is in the real time it is generating synthetic data for you. And since it is executing that test, so you can see that it is executing those tests, and it has executed those tests, and we'll see the summary result as well. Okay, and if you see, then it has the total test. It has generated 3, past test is 1, and it has generated the outcome as well. See the detailed test outcomes. Past test is this one, status is passed. So let's see it in a much better view. So we have this test suite tab over here, and here you can see that this is the test suite it has created. If you see, then the test suite it has created is test suite ID. This test suite ID is 205, and we are seeing that test suite 205. Okay, so if you see, this is a test suite 205. In this test suite 205, it has created three test cases. Verify application for self-employment. So if you go inside this test case, what it says, the verify approved application for self-employment with valid income. Okay, so it has followed this test step. It is a UI test path. This is the path for the UI it has to follow. So this is input full name, input date of the birth. So you know all sort of things as a manual tester as well. You can figure out what are the path you need to follow to achieve that particular test case. And it has shown that all sort of path it has been following to achieve that test case, and this all three test cases has been executed, and you can see the test log, whatever the execution result, you can see the test log. It has created these three test cases. It has passed one test case, it has failed two test cases, and success rate is 33.3. So it has perfectly evaluated the two test cases that we have purposefully added in our working application as well. Okay, um, these are the two bugs we have added in our application. So see, very high. We have three important scenario it has covered. First one is whether the self-employed applicant is getting the approved application status is getting approved or not for the self-employed one, and whether for the high LVR value um, whether the test whether the status is failed or not, and all sort of things it is fetching. So if you see the detail, then see for this unemployed application, verify the application status is declined, failed. Okay, so and for the unemployed application, we have purposefully kept the status as different, and it has fetched those status that the status should be declined for an unemployed application, and the application is not behaving as per the expectation. So it has shown that particular test case has failed, and if you see it carefully, then it has passed 12 test steps except the one, which is this one. Okay, so this is how we can see our test execution result. And this particular test execution is we are using Selenium in the background, Selenium as an engine to run all these test cases. We can use other sort of tools, Playwright and all sort of tools as well. So all those things are also configured.
Yeah.
And you can see the test script as well. Okay, you can download those test script and see all sort of things. So this is our functional testing.
Yeah. Thanks, Roshan. In the interest of time, just to wrap up, I mean, because there are some questions to that effect as well. So basically, just because we are showing Selenium doesn't mean we are dependent on Selenium.
Exactly.
This is a multi-agentic architecture. You can configure any tool sets, and you can build your own pipeline. Okay, so that architecture is quite flexible in that way. The idea is that we are employing computational intelligence. We have a model which, quote unquote, understands what a QA process is, what requirements it, what test plan is, and we are employing that in the service of quality engineering. Again, we would have loved, as you might have appreciated, it's a powerful tool. We can show like infinite scenarios within this, right? We can show you like how it breaks into functional and performance test and whatnot, maybe. So we wanted to keep it bite size, but at the same time wanted to show like, this real power to all sort of audience. Now, maybe in the next demo, we'll focus more, if time would have permitted, I would have focused more on how Intelqe collates all those results, qualitative as well as quantitative aspects of test summary report and stuff like that, because all that it can do for you. But probably that is for next webinar. Hopefully we'll keep in touch, and maybe we'll try to aim for something next week. Yeah. In the meantime, if someone sort of needs more information, guidance, or even a demo or instance, like trial instance of something, please reach out to us on LinkedIn or wherever. Yeah. And we'll hopefully keep in touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
All good. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, guys.
To Elisa's question, there's a question: how resilient is Intelqe to errors in model generation? Are there validation tools to help detect issues before execution? That's a very good question, by the way. That is where a human in the loop comes into play, right? And again, whatever great stuff we are showing here, reality of the situation is in the beginning, the AI tool is slightly different from traditional software development. In the beginning, depending on how you have curated your knowledge bases, etc., you may not get optimum result, right? Or even satisfactory result. So we recommend as a process to have results evaluated at every step out of the way, right? And that is where that feedback loop comes into play. And depending on how kind of feedback you give, it will keep getting sort of improving itself. So it's quite resilient, but we recommend for enterprise business use, we need to have checks and balances, right? So for any enterprise platform, you need to have process that goes in hand. I know you're excited about showing Intel to the audience, Roshan. Let's not do that. That's the next webinar. Otherwise, it is going to be very complicated, right? We don't have time for that. Thank you so much, guys. We'll be in touch. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll
Oh,
add,
good.
I'll address the additional questions on LinkedIn. So,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Let's do that after the event. Okay. Cool. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks,
thanks
everyone.
everyone.